Welcome to the Age of Rage.
Come on. Don't overdo it.
So those of you who have been following my channel for a while know that I'm pretty big on Ace of Spades, which is a blog that I'll link down here. He has some of the greatest commentary, and this one came up today, and I'd like to share it with all of you. Just in case people don't get this, I'm not being rhetorical when I say a large faction of the country, both on the left and the never-Trumper GOP side of things, has gone insane. The world feels like a Twilight Zone episode to them. The world went to sleep on November 8th, 2016, was not the same world they woke up to the next day on November 9th, 2016. Part of it looks the same, but nothing looks quite the same. The feeling they have is the horrific, creepy feeling of the uncanny. The feeling that things look normal or familiar from most angles, but you can't shake the sense that there's something off or alien about them. A classic trope of the uncanny is the automaton or doll who appears human, or even worse, the human who appears to be a doll. They feel they are in a nightmare. If you've ever described a nightmare or just a dream to someone, you know it's full of stuff like, oh, you were there, but you weren't you, and I was at work, but I was also in high school. It's weird precisely because familiar stuff appears unfamiliar. What we usually experience as solid, steady, unchanging terrain, like our workplace, is now a shape-shifting landscape. They were wholly unprepared for the reality of Trump. They never even prepared themselves psychologically for the outcome because it was inconceivable and absurd. And only dumb people thought stuff like Trump could win, as they're fond of telling you. And they are definitely not the dumb people. And now, that verity, that one important keystone of empirically true reality, has shapeshifted into spiked jello. They did as a first shot as a frat party. Anything could be true, and anything could be false, and that's a scary place to find oneself in. Remember how shell-shocked and benumbed liberals were after 9/11. Oh, we all were, don't get me wrong, but they were shell-shocked and benumbed because it wasn't just 3,000 Americans that were slaughtered that day. It was all their sacred religious pieties and all their smug certainties about how the world really worked. Americans experienced the shock of sudden, almost inconceivable horror on 9/11, but progressives who experienced something even worse, the feeling that they'd been wrong their whole lives. We lost 2 towers and 3,000 people that day. They lost their comfortable fictions and pretenses. They had it worse, actually. And this is why now they're seeing the same things. They just don't understand. They were so smug and so certain and so convinced of their own rightness. And this is why I say that the left is a bunch of religious nuts, because you couldn't convince them of anything. It didn't matter what the facts are. It doesn't matter what the facts are. But reality has hit them in the face, and they really don't know how to handle it. I'll keep saying this until the day I die. They weren't really all that bothered by the loss of life as they were by the loss of certainty, the loss of that feeling of superiority. Of course, they got it back soon enough. Within a year, they were back to being very confident about all their fictions and very superior about all of them. Within a year, they were certain of the progressive cause again, and they were back to fighting against the colonialist white power structure. But the Trump terrorist event, I love that phrase, the fact of Trump's victory, hit them much more deeply than 9/11 did. 11/9, they didn't just lose 2 towers and 3,000 people. On Election Day, most knew that Trump had won, but still held out hope that Hillary wouldn't concede or that Detroit wouldn't find themselves 100,000 uncounted votes. November 9th, 2016, the bizarro 9/11, 11/9, was when the actual SMOD, and for those of you who don't know what SMOD is, it stands for Sweet Meteor of Death. In this case, the SMOD was reality, and it hit. They lost their feeling of control and power over America. And believe me, after 8 years of Obama, with the social and cultural winds at their back, able to gin up social media hate mobs against anyone who even said something they didn't like, able to sick the IRS on conservative groups and get away with it scot-free. By the way, I'm still pissed about that. They felt like they were in total control. And they were right to feel that way. They were in total control. And now that's gone. November 9th, 2016. The day they realized it was not just a nightmare, but a reality akin to a nightmare. This was the progressives' 9/11. Just as real Americans felt the loss of security and control over their own fates that day, so did the progressives feel on 11/9. What you're seeing from progressives now, and the media, is the same sort of urgent fury you saw from real Americans after 9/11, an anger that a great evil had been done, and honor demanded furious retribution. Many people might have gone a little around the bend after 9/11. I think I did. I did too, Ace. In fact, I know I did. I'm not proud of that, but neither am I too ashamed to admit it. At least there was a justifiable cause. And now a great evil has finally shaken the progressives in the same way. They lost all three branches of government. And they've gone crazy. In my experience, there's nothing quite so dangerous as an inflated but brittle ego. An inflated ego, which is resilient and is annoying and dangerous, but being resilient, it does not really react bigly to threats. It shakes threats off, so it doesn't need to lash out or go on little nervous breakdown picnics out in Ego Protection Park. But large brittle egos do. Large egos lash out. And brittle ones that are easily punctured by pins, must lash out aggressively, constantly, almost randomly. 11/9 stole from them the two things most sacred, their sense of superiority and infallibility, and their precious political power over the people they hate. The daily hysteria, paranoia, conspiracizing, meltdowns, tantrums, out-of-left-field accusations, these are not the signs of healthy minds. We are used to saying X derangement syndrome, like Palin derangement syndrome, Bush derangement syndrome, Trump derangement syndrome. But I really think there is some actual derangement going on. I would like to tell everyone reading, please do not give in to it. Do not let their sickness become your sickness. When they panic, do not let their panic cause you agitation. It's normal that this should happen. That's how panics and mass hysteria spread. One infected person spreading the disease through pheromones and weird, alarming psychic energy to the next, but try to insulate yourself from it. Keep telling yourself, this is their hysteria. They are trying to spread it because crazy people resent the sane and want everyone to share in their delusions, to validate their delusions. Their claims meant little to me when they were speaking to me in a much more rational, lucid state of mind. They should mean even less now. They're firing all their fear synapses at once, like some kind of broke brain radio tower. Tune out when you fear you're being infected. Get off the internet, turn off the TV, and do something more productive like reading, or if worse comes to worse, your actual job. It's getting a little crazy. Quarantine your mind from the infected. I don't mean insulate yourself from news. I mean insulate yourself from the welter of crazy paranoiac emotions flowing from these sad nutters. The news will be posted 6 hours after the Babbling Breakfast Club's daily 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. freakout, when you can digest it in a calm state without all the screaming. Not every take needs to be a hot take, and certainly not every thought has to be had in an atmosphere of mental pandemonium. Men and women think best in the quiet and stillness. Many writers and religious thinkers advocated doing their work at night, when there's the least noise and bustle. These freakouts are going to be daily. A friend of mine posited this should be over in a month and a half, but I don't agree. It's going to be going on for 8 years. Yeah, 8. That's going to take some adjustment on our parts if we want to keep calm and our bliss intact. Let not your mellow be harshed. That's a great line, and I'm going to keep that. Let not your mellow be harshed. They are making noise and pounding the table precisely because they don't have the facts and proof they are sure is just around their corner. If they had the facts, they'd already been leaked. So when you're talking about Trump's collusion with Russia, we don't have any evidence or facts, but we know it happened, and it's just around the corner. We have faith. Religious nuts. They're attempting to get the herd stampeding by screaming about wolves just outside the herd's perimeter. And yet, when we say, where is this wolf you keep speaking of? They tell us that they only have solid intelligence and that an investigation will most likely prove the existence of the wolves. This is partly just an application, standard public opinion information operations, PSYOPs, in this day and age. The game is to make all sorts of outlandish claims and then demand that every person denounce whatever based on this incomplete, sketchy, and possibly completely fabricated claim that I have made. The idea is if you could panic a few people and start running, and the other people will start running, and just because the first few did. And then even the people who did not run off easily will start running, because if everyone is running, one is a fool to stay in place. And you know, I would say that's absolutely the case. As soon as the stampede gets rolling on denouncing somebody, then everybody, even the people who are saying, well, he didn't do anything wrong, or it isn't that big a deal, they feel like they have to say something. And then they have to make sure that they denounce whatever horrible act that this guy didn't do, just so you can show that you're against the horrible act. It gets old. It's only partly that. The running of the deliberate psyops to shape public opinion is cynical to the point of being nigh sociopathic, but it's also rational. Evil, but rational. But most of this is just pure panic and delusion and paranoia and hysteria on their part. And hysteria loves company. Crazy people do not like being told that they're crazy. They do not like being told that they are not Napoleon Bonaparte. It is very important to crazy people that others see the world as they do. Otherwise, being crazy and being captive in your own little cell of warped perspective and bad chemicals, well, it's pretty lonely. Misery loves company, right? Pairs who experience the syndrome of folie à deux, a madness shared between the two, or several people, are inseparable and have a bond as strong as between a husband and a wife, precisely because there is literally nothing more gratifying and sacred to a broken mind than finding another mind that believes in and validates all the same delusions. So you see that a lot with chemtrails, or we didn't land on the moon, or 9/11 was an inside job. Or quite frankly, religion. To me, it's all the same thing. It's a delusion, and people are feeding each other's delusions. I just don't think religion is necessarily doesn't have to be as damaging as something like we didn't land on the moon, or 9/11 was an inside job, or Trump is working with the Russians, you name it. They're on the crazy train. They're trying to sell more tickets. Decline to ride. So, that's the article. I thought it was amazing. I wanted to share it with you guys. And hopefully I'll have some more videos up soon. Thank you very much for listening. Okay, guys, here's the various ways you can get a hold of me. I do have a Minds account. It's at Rationalist Yoda. Twitter, at YodaCon. Email, rationalistyoda@gmail.com. And please, get a hold of me here on YouTube. Leave a comment. Subscribe. I'm looking forward to speaking with you. I love to interact. Let's talk. Hopefully I'll be on some streams pretty quick. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.